Okay, today's video we're going to talk about how to make money from your competitors' lost deals or lost sales. Basically, them getting leads that they're paying, decent money for. Maybe is paying as much as you are doing PPC or whatever for your business. The ones they can't sell to, you buying those old leads or lost sales or lost deal leads, lost opportunity leads, and trying to sell to them again. This is actually a very effective method of selling, despite what you may be thinking already about whether this actually could work or not. I mean, basically, if they didn't work for them, why the hell is it going to work for me? Is what you might be thinking here. The answer to that is that most people who get leads don't follow them up very good. 80+% of your competition right now will not follow up a lead more than once or twice. And the reality is most sales don't occur until you followed up 5, 10 different times with that prospect. So just from that one little standpoint right there, it's worth it to buy a lead that your competition says that's not worth anything and market or try to sell to them again. Let alone, it's fairly expensive to generate leads in your space, right? In this particular case, you can generally buy a lead that is basically the same lead you would have got through Google search a lot of times, but get it for 10 cents on the dollar, buying it from a competitor who thinks it's basically a piece of ass wipe to them right now, and of which get more than 10% on the dollar value out of that lead, getting 30 or 40 cents out of the dollar value on that lead. And depending on, what your position is in the market compared to them, how well of a follow-up game you do. But I'm going to go through a method so you could turn a 10 cent on the dollar lead that you buy from your competitor and get 30 cents or 40 cents out of the dollar on that lead, buying it from the competitor, buying from the biggest competitors in your space who already get lots and lots of leads. Generally speaking, this works great or best when you have some differentiator that makes you better than that competitor, so that when you reach out to them, you can say, "Hey, look, I know are you still in the market for what you for this to get your foundation repaired on your house? Oh well, we offer financing. Would you like some financing? Yeah, okay, bang. It's just that lead now. As soon as they get any kind of confirmation as to what them wanting that, as if that lead was brand new again. So if you have a hook or differentiator that gives you an edge in your market, this works particularly good, so if that's you, you should definitely stay tuned for the whole video as to learn how to do this for yourself. But I will give you a couple different examples of where we pulled this off in other markets so you can understand how it's done completely all the way through. I'm also going to give you the methodology on actually how to set it up, what to pay for these lost leads, how to execute on the whole thing, and so forth. And of course, as well as you're not just using these leads to call them up and say, "Hey, are you ready? Have you made a purchase yet? If not, will you buy from us?" You actually run PPC campaigns to those email lists. So you get the lead, which contains the email address and phone number. You can use that email address and phone number to power a Facebook campaign, a banner ad campaign that'll show up all across the web for that person that is about ready to make a purchase. Just because they didn't buy from your competitor doesn't mean they're going to buy it all. It just means they weren't quite ready yet, or they're still in market many times. So just because they didn't buy from them doesn't mean they'll buy from anybody, of course. As you know, if your closing rate's 20% of the leads you get, of the remaining 80%, half of those people at least are buying from somebody else. So if you have a good pitch, why not market to them? And why not market to them in a way that you would market to anybody that's new out there to get them into the fold that way? And of which, why market to people that, basically that you have to market to people that don't know of you or heard of you before, and you don't have the value of somebody who took the plunge and actually went and contacted a salesperson from at least one company in your space before. Because obviously there's a lot of tire kickers. 80% of the people who hit your site from your PPC campaigns where you're marketing to totally new prospects that you don't know have contacted anybody yet, 80% of those people aren't ready to talk to a salesperson today if you're generating leads, knowing that the person's already talked to a salesperson, now when you get that person to the site, or when you're marketing to that person in general, that person has much more perceived value to you, given most people in your market at any given time, more so for people that sell a more complex product or higher priced product or service. Knowing that that person's at the point of actually making the purchase is much more valuable to reach out and deal with those people. So this is going to allow you to be able to deal directly with the people that are about ready to, place the deposit check or purchase for the item, versus going after everybody, where you have a mix of that and a bunch of people that are just basically just learning, just starting to think about it, and so forth. So anyway, I'll get into the whole content here as to how to do this, how well it works, and so forth. I know you may hate some of your biggest competitors, okay? But they can be very profitable to you if you could just get over that and reach out to them and work directly with them. They don't have to be your arch enemy. And even if they are, even if you, let's say you absolutely, because I know this is true, because I deal with clients all the time. Usually the top person in your space that spends the most money on marketing, everybody hates that person because they don't have a good product or service as mine. They just advertise more, and basically they're envious, jealous, or they're just pissed off that they're able to be so successful with a product or service that's not as good as theirs. And with that, if you want it, the best way you can get back at them is, you know that they're greedy, right? Play, against their greed. Go to them and ask them, the people that you tried to sell to and can't, I'll buy all your leads. Knowing that you have a better product or service, and them probably being blinded to the greed, so to say, you can actually get a bunch of their customers that they have tons of, or get some of the leads, and customers from those leads that they have tons of those leads, and to get some basically from them, and basically sell some people that they're awash with leads. You can actually tap into that instead of just being pissed off about the situation and trying to compete with them head on. Just take a piece of their action on the back end. So if you do a two-step sales process, two-step being you're not selling to somebody on your site through a shopping cart and you're like a regular e-commerce business where there's no human interaction. They fill out a form, they call, you talk to them, then they buy. If you do a two-step sales process like that, where your competitor thinks a lead is dead, you are going to pay for those competitors' leads directly or contacts, so that you could sell to them multiple ways through reach out to them directly, asking them if they've made a purchase yet, and if not, try to re-engage that lead. Or run Facebook ads and display advertising online. Anywhere that they would go, you're going to have an ad in front of them to convince them to do business with you, knowing that they're about ready to make a purchase. If they contact your company and they contact a few companies in your space, there's no guarantee they'll do business with any of you, but obviously the chances are high that they'll do business with some of you if they've reached out to talk to a salesperson in your space. And so, with that said, okay, this works best when you are a little cheaper than the person you're buying leads from. I'll start off saying that right away here. And so with that, and the reason for that is simple. Obviously, the biggest reason why somebody doesn't buy from somebody is because they think it's too expensive. That's going to be the top reason. After looking at their website and reviewing everything about them, talking to the salesperson, that's generally why they aren't buying, if they're not going to buy at all, and if they're just not buying yet. They want to look for a better deal. You come in with the lead, contact that lead and ask them if they will, have you made a decision yet? And they're saying, you could actually say, well, why didn't you buy? And if they say, well, it's a little expensive, and if you got a cheaper solution, it's like a lock and a key and a lock at that point. It's the perfect setup for you to be able to get that customer. But that doesn't have to be the only way that you approach this. You could be more expensive if you just pull this off right. It depends on, what do you have an edge or differentiator point to where if you call that prospect up and ask them, have you done business? Have you bought from anybody in our space yet? And if they say no, you got to be able to have something that you could say in just a few seconds, in a few words, why they should do business with you. If you have nothing that's different or better or superior than that competitor or from the general market, you need to come up with one. And if your product or service can't be changed, you come up with a differentiator, such as we're having a promotion this month, or basically we'll offer you with that promotion so much off, percentage off. That would be one way to do it. Or we'll give you, how would you like a quote right now? I'll promise you if the quote that I give you is more expensive than any of the quotes that you've gotten, we'll give you the whole thing basically at, sorry, I got this screwed up. We'll give you a free gift card to the Outback Steakhouse for not being the cheapest one. Therefore, because with that situation, maybe you bought that lead from the competitor, maybe they've contacted other companies. At that point, they're probably could be content with the leads that the quotes that they got. You say, "Oh, give me one, just one more chance at this business. I'll assure you that if you're buying on price here, which you can ask them that up front before you even ask them, to take that proposal up with you. If they're buying on price, you could say, I'll get you the lowest price. If I can't get you the lowest price, we'll get you a $50 gift card to the Outback Steakhouse. Now you got an opportunity to sell somebody which if you are able to beat the price, take a lower cut or lower margin, lower profit margin on that sale, you'll basically have a 90% chance of getting that sale. So there's some different things that you can do, but you got to have something there, generally speaking, to get that user's attention quickly once you're on the phone with them. So in order to get the leads here, you could trade your leads, your lost deal leads, with the competitors you do business with, or that your competition, or you could just buy the leads outright. Generally, an average cost for that will be like $1 to $10 each for these leads. Personally, I would rather pay for the leads myself than trade my bad leads with their bad leads, because I know how much these bad leads are worth, and because I know no lead is generally ever a dead lead. Yeah, a dead lead to us at our agency, just to give you some perspective on this, if they say, fuck you, quit contacting me, okay, that's a dead lead. If they say, I'm not sure yet, and that's it, that's not a dead lead. I don't care. If they've said that, I'll contact them for the next 10 years if I need to. In this business, in the advertising business, that's how this market is geared. But I tell this to all of our clients all the time anyway. A lot of times, it's just not the right time for them. They could be contacting a few companies in your space if you sell roofing, and they know they need a roof, but then they delay it for the next 3 years, and then they buy a roof. If you're not following up with them, you're throwing away a bunch of your advertising spend by doing that. So with that said, I don't want to give any of my bad leads away. The reason why I want to buy these leads from my competitor is because I know they're throwing away their leads by not following up with them. So I'm arbitraging, the value of what they think the leads are with what I know what the lead value is, and making money thereof, and actually getting back at my competitors. They think they're screwing me over because they're like, those leads aren't ever going to buy shit. And you know better because you understand, the information I'm giving you here that shows you what kind of numbers you can get. But just the fact that it takes more follow-up to actually make a sale than the average person thinks here. So with that, basically the higher the cost of your leads, that generally what your leads cost in your market, the more you're going to have to pay for a dead lead, or what your competitor is going to call a dead lead. And which is about the average price that I basically would recommend you spend in order to get profit from. You'll be able to make more money from these leads than you could get on getting leads on your own through advertising to a cold audience. Would be to spend 10% of so if you're generating 10%, so if you're gonna pay 10% of what you normally would pay for a lead right now with your advertising to a cold market. So if you're paying, let's say $30 a lead from Google search right now, I would be willing to pay $3 a lead for a dead lead from a competitor. At that $3 a lead, I can flip enough of those into a sale for us to make that $3 that I'm paying for the lead worth it. Once you're starting to pay, like half of the value of what I can get a new lead for on my own from cold traffic advertising that we're doing, then it's going to be real hard to get that back. 10% is about the sweet spot that we found that works. As a side note, there's lots of, maybe not in your market, but in a lot of markets, Home Advisor is one business that's all they do is they generate leads from Google search on their own, and then they sell and disperse those leads to a bunch of providers in the area. So they might generate leads for, going back to my previous example, foundation repair. They'll have an ad that says foundation repair services or whatever on Google search. When somebody searches for foundation repair, they find that ad by Home Advisor or from Home Advisor. They get them to fill out that form, and then they sell that lead for $20 each. Sell that lead for $20, but they sell that same lead to 10 people. So they're essentially able to buy that lead, what might cost that $50 for that lead on Google, but they're able to make $200 from that lead because they sold it to 10 different people. That's an entire business model. There's several companies that follow that same model. Google's actually in that business with what is it called? Paperclip. Anyway, Google's got a company that does this, and there's quite a few other companies that do this. And I always tell my clients, for the most part, for what you're paying for, and similar to what I'm telling you here, if you have an edge, you're like a cheaper, well, in that situation, it is certainly different. If you're going to, because they don't actually outright say, basically, they don't pretend they're a provider and then sell that lead to somebody else. What they're actually trying to do is saying, get quotes from 50 people or whatnot, just to be clear. And the person that's going to fill that in is going to be a person who just wants to buy on price. So I tell my clients, if you're cheaper than everybody else, I would do it. And I know for a fact it works great for people who are cheaper than everybody else. But if you want a quality person who wants to buy on quality, it's not a great situation. But in this particular scenario, what we're talking about here, that competitor who has most of the business in your market that has a ton of leads, those people are contacting them because they're a quality provider. So you're getting somebody who wanted quality, and so that compared to the Home Advisor situations, it's different. I just brought up the Home Advisor situation because it shows, though, the value of buying leads that are already another person's leads, and they have a $100 million a year company doing it. So the used leads have value, and used leads from companies that have a quality product are even higher value because, of course, they've pre-vetted, pre-selected the people in the market that wanted a quality offer. So anyway, so there's different people out there already doing it. You're essentially just going to set up instead of having a middleman to buy leads from that or getting them from somebody else, because a lot of people do that as well. If people come to you saying they have leads, they'll a lot of times just get them from another competitor and they'll arbitrage and mark up the leads. You don't need to do that. You could reach out directly to the leading competitor in your space. Why leading? Because unless they have 100 plus leads a month, it's probably not going to be worth both of your times to set this up, because you need a decent amount of leads to set up a decent program. But you can go to that leading competitor and set up your own deal with them. And if you're paying $100 a lead now, you'll pay $10 a lead. And of course, if they're going to sell a couple hundred leads a month at $5 a lead here, it's an extra $1,000 a month they're getting absolutely for nothing, for free, essentially. So that's why they're able, even though they're a big company, you may not think they need that money. $1,000 free dollars for doing literally nothing but sending an email once a month. You'd be surprised how many companies are willing to do that. For all practical purposes, they'll basically all do it for the most part. So don't think that they won't do it. Go ahead and actually ask and find out for yourself, basically. But you'll have to, again, figure out what your lead cost is. If you don't know it already, which you should already know it from your marketing now, offer 10% of that cost for each lead that your competitor don't want anymore because they think that lead won't buy anything from them. Now, the cost of the leads also should vary based upon the age of that lead. So as you're setting up that deal with the competitor, you are going to certainly want to ask, what is the time frame in which we're getting the bad lead? Are you going to actually try selling them to them for a month and then you're going to sell them to us? Because if that's the case, you're going to actually want to pay even less money. It may only be 5% of what you normally pay for a lead through Google search or whatever you're doing now to generate leads on your own. Because the longer of time from the time that they enter the forum, the less likely it is that they're going to buy. The ideal would be for them to, what you're basically looking for here is a sucker. A sucker in that they think that if a lead isn't good after 7 days of filling out the contact form, that they're never going to buy. That's the golden opportunity that you're hoping for. Because after 7 days, very, very little drop-off is going to happen unless you're, most people in most markets are going to spend more than a week on average debating whether they want to buy from one vendor or another vendor or buy it all, and that week is nothing. A month is a different story, but I'd still take month-old leads. I would take leads upwards of 90 days old, and then so I would just discount them if they're 90 days older. And obviously, they could lie to you on the age of the leads, but and even if they lie to you, once you start buying the leads, you'll just find out that the leads are shit and that they basically tried fucking you here, and then you just cancel the deal. So they also should know that, basically you know your numbers, pretend like you're doing this with other competitors already, and that if the leads work out, you'll buy them indefinitely. And it'll just be a check you send every month, and that's it. And it's automated passive income for them. So, but anyway, depending on if you can get the leads a week old to 2 weeks old, I would pay 10 cents on the dollar for what you're paying for leads now. If they're a month old, I would try to go more so like 5 cents on the dollar. If they're 90 days old, try to go 2 or 3 cents on the dollar. And so if you're in a big enough market with a big enough competitor, maybe this works out for you, maybe it don't. But in general, there's some general guidelines I would go with to start out with. We'll just say maybe you can pay more for the leads. Maybe you need to pay less. You'll find that out as you go. But the key thing here, going back to what I was saying before, the reason why this works so well as a profit-generating activity through doing marketing for your company is the average form lead. If a user, obviously they can call you, they can fill out the contact form, and they get to your site when you do your regular marketing now. Form leads don't generally, by most companies, get that people won't get a reply until they've followed that form lead up 7 times already. The reason for that is because most people don't actually respond to form leads quick enough. Did you know, or maybe you don't know already, if you answer a form lead within 15 minutes, your response rate on that form lead will go up upwards of 90%, whereas if you wait just 20 minutes after they filled it out the form, it'll drop to 30-40%. So most people don't know this, and so whether they're lazy or ignorant or whatever, and then because they waited long enough for that person not to be at their computer anymore or thinking about filling out forms anymore, and they're on to doing something else, you got to follow up that form lead an average of 7 times to get that person. An average of 7 times, because even if you went past 7, you're still going to get more and more and more the more times that you follow them up. Technically, if it's my company, I'm following up that form lead upwards of 15 plus times because it just takes a long time to get people's attention anymore when you try to call them back. And from there, just try to call within 15 minutes. But with that, the average person needs to follow up a form lead 7 times just to get a hold of them, just because people they're busy and it's hard to get people's attention anymore. With that though, 80% of the sales that people make from these 2-step sales require 5 follow-ups minimum in order to get the sale. And on top of that, 44% of sales reps only follow up 1 time before giving up. And that's a stat that comes directly from HubSpot. So on one hand, when the form leads at least that they get, it takes 7 times of following up that form lead to even get a hold of the lead. And the average person's going to call 1 time and then give up. They don't even have a chance to get the sale from that person because they didn't even come close to following up like they needed to get a hold of that form lead. So out of the form leads you basically buy, 2 out of the 3 of the form leads that you're paying 10 cents on the dollar for, they simply never talked to the person, and they didn't talk to the person because they didn't follow them up enough. So you get where I'm coming from on this this whole strategy. Why you want to do it? Why paying 10 cents on the dollar for a used lead is so good, because all you got to do is just do the follow-up process that they never did and get a whole chunk of sales out of it that they couldn't get just simply because they didn't talk to them. And then for the people they did talk to, if you have a slightly different offer, whether you're going to give them a slight discount, give them a guaranteed gift card, if you're not the lowest price, you have your product is the same price, but it's faster, it's more powerful. Whatever, of the people that you follow up with, a certain percentage will take you up on it just because you have that differentiator. So you get another 10 or 20% of the business that way because they now know you have something that's technically better. But the bigger thing is that you're going to capitalize and monopolize on here is you're going to do the follow-up that they never did. So that's generally why, if you can get the leads that are only 7 days old that they don't want, those are worth 10 cents on the dollar all day long, because half of them they probably even talk to in terms of the form leads. And even the people they talk to on the phone, basically a ton of those people, of course, are just going to say, okay, well, thank you, I'm going to get back to you later. And they don't follow those leads up and they're not going to buy. Or if it's an in-home appointment they got to do, they say, I'll call you back. I need to, basically think about what time you're going to come out. Or, salesperson comes out, they weren't there. There's all these different, holes that or people that you're dumping these people into the sales funnel as far as the sales process goes, where they come back out. And because people, generally speaking, most companies don't have an efficient sales process, just like they don't have an efficient marketing process. And just by having the tight sales process, you can actually make more money on leads from other companies that don't have the good sales process like you do than you could actually advertising for yourself. And so, or at least you're going to try to take every lead you can from other people that don't actually follow leads up like they're supposed to, make all the money you can from there, and then go after new prospects on your own. So anyway, that's why this method is going to be worth it for you to do, okay? I talked about the 2 ways that once you buy these leads, these so-called bad leads from the other companies that are in your space, you're going to call them, you're going to call them up, ask them, hey, I know I'm contacting you because I know you were in market for a brand new lawnmower. Just wondering, have you made your purchase yet? No, we haven't. Well, why didn't you make your purchase? Blah, 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 blah. Then you use that as your foot in. Excuse me. You're going to do that, and then you're going to say, well, you're going to actually split test this to figure out what's going to work the best. You can go the angle of, we're offering a special deal this month on our lawnmowers, 20% off to anybody who buys this month. Or you can actually, if that doesn't work, you're going to try the angle of saying, actually, we can get you a quote on that same thing if you offer the same thing. If we're not the lowest quote that you've seen so far, we'll give you the gift card to Outback Steakhouse. You could go that angle. Or you could say, did you know, actually, there's a competing brand that's actually the same as that brand you were looking at, but it's actually cheaper. Would you like to hear some more information on that? And maybe that hooks them more. You're going to go through these variations in here to figure out what's going to get you the highest rate of closings on those leads and those phone calls. And you're not going to be stupid like the other company. If you don't get a hold of them on the first call, you give up. You're going to call them literally 30 times until they answer and say, I'm not interested. You keep calling them. And you call them a couple times a day until they answer, because you only have so much time to make these leads count. So the next 2 weeks, you call them 30 times. And I know that sounds excessive, but they called because they were looking to do business. And they didn't say anything that company didn't say that they were going to sell their leads to anybody. So this is fair game. And they can always say, don't contact me, and then you just don't contact them anymore. For the people who say they're not interested, you call back and you have another salesperson say, hey, I know we contacted you. Joe said that you offer, that we would give you a 20% discount for our promotion this month. I'll actually mention, if you do business with us, we'll throw in free shipping too. And then you can just try to squeeze every last little bit of value out of these leads. That's what the really good big players that do a lot of PPC are going to do on the back end that we see here at our PPC agency. And this is what you do to make every lead count anyway, regardless of where you're getting them from, especially here. And since you're going to have so many leads, you might buy, 150 of these leads a month. You're going to have a good process to actually, handle them, if you will. But anyway, that's your calling. Then on the ad side, you're going to run ads anywhere that the person goes by having their email list and their cell phone number. You can upload that to Facebook and run ads just in front of those people. You can upload that to Google and run it ads just in front of those people. If you've spent $50,000 or more lifetime on Google Ads, you can do that through the Google Display Network, where you can show up on basically any ad or any website that you see out there that has a banner ad showing on it. And if you don't have that $50,000 and spend on Google Display Network and Google Ads, or just through Google Ads to run ads on Google Display Network, you can run ads on AdRoll where they don't have that spend requirement and still get in front of basically every place that has a banner ad showing on a regular website, not like like a news website, weather website, whatever. You can get in front of those same people with the same email address list. And so with that, I kind of went over this before, but there's two main ways to go with this in terms of turning those leads into cash. The first option is, like I said before, I would go with a promotion. For example, 20% off this month on all lawnmowers, all Toro lawnmowers, whatever. And so that's the simple. You need a simple message on the ad, otherwise it's not going to get read and paid attention to. And when I do these kind of promotions like this, I'll tie it to when I say this month only, 20% off for Halloween only on all Toro mowers. So they know that this discount is only a limited time, and we're not just saying it's a limited time because the ad has Halloween theme to it. They know it's only a limited time. We're not pulling their chain. So with that, a person that has inquired about a lawnmower from your other competitor, this ad will suck out a decent amount of demand, so they just contact you. And then you can get them the quote. And it's cheaper to contact people, like we were talking about before, that already contacted your competitor than people who were looking for lawnmowers in general, because the people that are looking for lawnmowers in general are going to be mixed in there with tons of tire kickers and everything else. So as long as we pay a cheap enough price for the non-sold leads from our competitor, which at 10 cents a lead or 5 cents on the dollar for a lead, it works out. That if you don't go that general direction with it, you do your differentiator pitch. So that could certainly be that you say that you're faster, you're better, you're offering free shipping where the other company doesn't offer free shipping. It could be a picture of the product. If the product looks more attractive than the competition's, you could just put that in the ad to try to get that person directed back to your website so that they ultimately can become a customer. So with that also, essentially with that, you could do a lot of different things. I'll give you an example on both of these specifically that I had planned out. That I'll go back to this one because I forgot to give you the example on this one first. On the 20% off this month on X, or insert the name of the product, we had a print shop where we did this. In the print supply market, where you flyer printing, brochure printing, all that kind of stuff. That's a fairly big market to where there's a lot of competitors and there's a lot of action out there. Went to a few of the different competitors out there and ran through the whole pitch I was talking about here. And with that, basically we got the leads and we were marketing 20% off any print this month for insert the name of the month. The next month we had a different ad that was tied to a different holiday that month, so the ad always looked current. And this did really well from the standpoint that, again, a lot of people, when you market on Google, it can cost $200, $300, $400, $500 for an acquisition through Google search for that kind of service. Whereas running a display campaign on Facebook and on Google Display Network for those same people that already contacted our competitors for a quote, the acquisition cost was, $100 to $200 in that range, where the average acquisition cost for Google search for those same customers was $200, $300. So basically half as much. Of course, we had to pay for those leads, but we were paying a very cheap lead cost for those leads, because essentially the person that we were dealing with at these companies didn't understand the value of a junk lead, so we got them basically for really cheap, under 10% of the cost of that lead. So going back to what I was saying before, here you can pay $1 to $10 a lead. In that market where acquisition cost around $200, if you will, and in which we're, in terms of the people who wanted to generate a quote, we're talking about $75 in that general range. We were paying around $5 for somebody who filled out and got a quote through that company. So anyway, even after the cost of acquiring the lead, the campaign was bringing in almost double the ROI that the campaign that was targeting new cold prospects was on its own. 500% ROI plus on these campaigns, like I just talked about, just where you're offering a discount tied to the time of the month or time of the year that it's in, will be your typical. This works very similar to cart abandonment campaigns that I talk about for regular e-commerce companies. We talk about, and I do this on every e-commerce project I work on. If you've been to the shopping cart on our client's website, we're going to remarket our ads to that person heavily, because they've indicated so much commercial interest in our product or service, should I say product that we're offering, that remarketing to them is just always going to be that much more profitable, or just that profitable in general. So we may not even be able to do other kinds of remarketing for an e-commerce client, but we always can do remarketing that works for people who hit the shopping cart itself, because we know those people, all the tire kickers have been filtered out. And this is basically the same equivalent of this. We've weeded out all the tire kickers. We got the person who was willing enough to actually get the full quote and get the lead. So it's like we're targeting cart abandoners all over again. It takes more work to set this up. We got to manually get the leads from the companies and have a process to get them cycled into our campaign, which is not that complicated. You can get a weekly spreadsheet from each company that you're buying dead leads from, and have that uploaded to your Facebook and your AdRoll or Google campaigns in 15 minutes once a week. Somebody at your company could easily do that for you. But that's kind of the equivalent of what we're talking about here. The response rates are going to be so much higher. Your closing rate on the leads are going to be so much higher. So because you're dealing with the people that mostly are all ready to do business. So with that said, in terms of the differentiator, we had a company who did translation services. Now, for this, to give you this example here, so this is like for translation from documents, business documents, and the like, for when you're trying to get things transferred from one language into another. If you have a manual, a company manual, you need to translate it into another language, you could get that done. If you have an instruction manual for something that, you have a product, you need an instruction manual translated into 15 different languages, this company could do it. It would basically broker that out. They didn't have the translators in-house, they just brokered it out. And our ad for this simply was cheapest prices on the net. So translation services, cheapest price on the net. That's all we basically said to generate the leads, and it worked very well. And actually they had decent prices, so this worked okay. But even if you didn't have extremely cheap prices, it's one effective way to suck out a bunch of demand from a list that if they just replied all, you're going to be able to sell. And sometimes, we aren't the cheapest, and sometimes you wouldn't be the cheapest, but you have to say something somewhat extreme in order to get a good response from a display ad. You got to come up with something decent that the consumer actually gives a shit about, basically. So mentioning that we were the cheapest on the net, given that we weren't giving a specific price, actually did really well. It got them interested enough to turn into a lead. And of that, at least half of them, we could be the cheapest price because we're brokering it out to a bunch of places. We know how to get the cheapest prices. It worked well. So that's one way you could do things. So respectively, in terms of going back to the title of this video, we were getting at least a 500% ROI on this campaign, cheapest prices on the net for translation services. On the print company as well, we were getting the same thing done. So basically, again, it's what you should be going for in terms of figuring out how to make money for your company generating leads. If you can find competitors willing to sell you their leads, you want to try to exploit those opportunities first before you find your own customers, because basically, generally speaking, because of the unwillingness of companies to really extract all the value from their leads, you can just simply finish extracting the value out of those leads yourself and end up making a good amount of money in the process. And so it's not rocket science in order to get more value out of these leads. Like I said, I gave you pretty much the formula. You just don't give up on leads until they tell you not to contact them anymore. And if you have a differentiator that is a little bit different than the competitor that you have, you can actually a lot of times just be the right thing that they wanted to hear. They didn't quite what they wanted to hear. The competitor wasn't offering quite what they wanted to hear, and you were, so you get the business. And so just because the lead isn't good for them doesn't mean anything at all as it comes to what this lead potentially can be for you. Sometimes they'll just never buy from anybody, but more than half the time they are going to buy from somebody. And because you had a better sales process, you get the customer, they don't. And you got it at 10 cents on the dollar from them. So anyway, that's the whole kind of strategy that I wanted to go through today here and explain how to do this, how to buy leads from your competitor, how to actually make them work for your company, make more money from them than you can get from new leads that you're getting now for your company, how the math all works behind that, and so forth. If you like this video, consider giving it a like and consider subscribing to this channel, as I have a lot of other videos on this channel about other strategies that can make you a pile of money with your PPC and other online advertising as well, Facebook ads, Google, and so forth. I also have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog where we give you step-by-step advice on how to build PPC campaigns as well, down to with screenshots and so forth, so you can learn how to do effective PPC, and which goes further into detail that I go through and with this channel here. The blog is also authored by myself, and these are the exact things that we're doing to get our clients guaranteed results on their campaigns, since that's what we offer here at our agency. So if you want to have some good supplementary information, you can get it there as well. Beyond that, if you have any questions about anything I covered here today, leave me a comment below. I get back to every person that leaves me a comment on this channel, usually within a couple days' time. As a final note, I have a brand new program here at our PPC agency where we're offering turnkey PPC campaigns. In that, if you want to open up a business in a market, we have PPC campaigns that we know the results on those campaigns before you ever use them. Sales, profit margins, so on and so forth. And the reason for that is because we've ran PPC campaigns in certain markets and gotten the results in which, if you're operating in a different market than our client's been operating in, we can give you the same results they were getting in another market. And what we have had here is we've had companies come to us, use our campaign templates that we use in one market that we've built up over the years to really optimize. They can start a business in another geographic market, outsource all the work, and take 5 to 10% of the total sales volume for their profit margin just by operating a site and having our campaign and landing pages that we've used and built up to have working to generate really good results for us over years. You got the gold-plated version of what works for that market without having to do any of the testing and all the stuff that we had to do to get those results. We have a bunch of different markets where we have campaigns and proven results in, so you could do that. Products, services alike, as well as potentially having a campaign where we've already gotten the proven results for your market already, or a market like yours, which you could just simply bolt on to what you're doing and get a ton of extra results as well. So if you're interested in that type of thing, reach out to our firm. We'll give you a breakdown of what markets we have campaigns in. If you want to use the exact campaigns we're using for that market, we can get you the results that you can expect and so forth. And the price, of course, what we're going to charge to do that. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you to use to make more money with your PPC, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, and other PPC networks. See you there.